Now, most solar cells are made out of silicon, and it requires a lot of energy and a big factory to make. We're actually going to make our own solar cells just using copper. We're going to actually cook the copper until it forms a layer of cuprous oxide. And it's got the same effect that silicon has, in that when sunlight hits it, the photoelectric effect allows the electrons to flow inside the plate. Now remember, the photoelectric effect is just a fancy word that describes what happens when you shine a light onto a metal. If the light is of certain frequency, a certain color, then it's actually going to cause the electrons inside the metal to flow. And that's all that's happening here, and that's exactly what happens inside of a solar cell. We're going to take a look at how to make our own just with regular household stuff. The first thing you're going to need is actually a few sheets of copper. This is copper flashing from the hardware store, and also a way to cut it. So I've got my metal shears here. You're also going to need a way to clean it. So I've got some sandpaper. And you're also going to need some regular table salt as well as some water. You're going to need an electric, not a gas stove. Okay, so if you don't have an electric stove, do this at somebody's house that you can borrow it. And you're also going to need a digital multimeter. This is going to help you measure how much energy, how much volts and amps your solar cell is going to produce. Now, in order to connect your solar cell to your meter, you're going to need some alligator clips, as well as some binder clips to hold the cell in place. And you're also going to need a water bottle. Let's take a look at how to prepare the copper first, and while that's cooking, we'll actually start building the other part of the cell. The first thing you need to do is cut your sheet of copper to fit on top of your burner. You don't want a lot of it hanging off, okay? So once you've done that using your metal shears, okay, be careful because these are going to be real sharp on the edge. Get some grown-ups to help you if you can. Okay. Once you've got that, you want to wash this very carefully with soap and water on both sides. You can see there's oil here on that. And after you've done that, we're going to actually use our sandpaper and scrub off the oxide layer on the outside. So this is as clean as can be, because we're going to be actually heating this, and we want a nice thin layer to attach directly to the copper. Once your copper has been cleaned with soap and water, go ahead and start scrubbing it with your sandpaper. Really scrub it all over. And you want to do both sides. Once your copper is clean, go ahead and place it right on top of your burner and turn it on to the highest setting. Okay? And we're going to leave it like this for about a half an hour. But I want you to watch it for the first couple of minutes. Now, as your copper sheet heats up, it's going to start forming different colors, and eventually it's going to turn completely black. That black color is actually cupric oxide. That's not the oxide layer that we want. We want the oxide layer that forms underneath the black layer. That's actually called cuprous oxide. We want to let this cook for about a half an hour. After a half an hour, you want to turn off the burner and allow it just to sit on the burner still for another 20 minutes. This will allow it to cool off. As the copper plate cools, it's going to shrink. And the black stuff, that's going to shrink too. And actually, it's going to start to flake off and pop off. When the copper is cool, after about 20 minutes, most of the black oxide is going to be gone. If you want to, you can run it lightly under water to remove the large pieces. Don't scratch it with your fingernails or with sandpaper. If you do, you're actually going to take off that layer that we work so hard to put on. Small black pieces that are still on the copper layer are okay. While your cell is cooking, you can prepare your water bottle. You want to take a razor or a sharp pair of scissors and cut the neck off. Make sure you keep your hands away from where you're cutting. Down here is a good idea. This is the piece that came off your burner. You can actually still see the burner mark inside. I've bent it just a little bit so it'll fit inside of my container. Now, the smoothest side is going to be the side that was facing up when it was on the burner. And you want that side to be facing out. Okay? You want to cut a second piece of copper that's the same size as your first piece. Okay? Bend them slightly and insert them into your water bottle container. Now here's the tricky part. They've got to both sit in there without touching. This is where your binder clips come in. Go ahead and kind of move them around. You can take them out and rebend them if you need to. Okay? You need to somehow get them both in there, but without touching. Once they're in there, it's time to put a salt solution in here. Go ahead and measure out a couple of tablespoons of salt, and then add enough water to fill your container almost to the top. Leave about an inch that is not in solution. Okay? And you can go ahead and stir that up with a spoon. Now comes the fun part. Go ahead and turn on your digital multimeter, and you want to connect the positive to the fresh piece of copper. Okay? And the negative goes to the one you cooked on the stove. Okay? Go ahead and set your digital multimeter to read amps. Okay? And the way this works is you basically want to measure the amps and the volts in both the sunlight and the shade. You'll find different readings on your digital multimeter for different ones depending on where you are. Now this solar cell basically uses two plates. We have the regular copper and also the cuprous oxide layer. Now we actually heated that copper plate to 800 degrees for about a half an hour. That's how we got the layer coating on both sides of that copper plate. And when you put this in sunlight, what's going to happen is when the sunlight hits this cuprous oxide layer, it's going to cause electrons to start flowing. By putting it in a solution that conducts electricity, we're actually able to measure that electron flow using our digital multimeter. Now, this is not a very powerful solar battery. In fact, if you wanted to light up a 100-watt light bulb, you'd need about 8 million of these. While you're testing your solar cell, go ahead and shade different parts of it with your hands to see how the voltage or the amps changes on your meter. Go ahead and give that a try.